LaMelo Ball didn't get benched against the Thunder or the Nuggets. It happened against the Indiana Pacers, a team that had only one win on the entire season. Imagine that. Your franchise player, your max contract star, gets pulled by a one-win coach who basically said, "We're good. Sit down." Indiana walked away with only their second victory of the year, and right after that, the story dropped. According to league insiders, the Charlotte Hornets' 4-11 start has pushed LaMelo Ball to a breaking point. The report claimed LaMelo is frustrated with the direction of the team and is now open to a trade. Naturally, the entire NBA internet went wild. Trade machines firing, fan bases campaigning, every team convincing themselves we can fix him. But then, less than 2 hours later, LaMelo responded. He quote tweeted the report with a clown emoji. That's NBA language for, "This is fake, shut it down." But once you actually open the full report, the situation becomes way more complicated. Yes, the story says LaMelo is open to a change, but hidden deeper inside, league sources revealed something far more surprising. The Hornets front office is the one losing faith. They're reportedly hesitant to commit to LaMelo long-term, feel disillusioned with his development, and are open to moving him if the right offer comes. So LaMelo is calling the reporter a clown for suggesting he wants out, while the organization might be the one wanting to move him. And if both sides are even loosely involved in the rumor mill, then this is no longer noise. This is a signal. There's also context people forget. Charlotte has a new front office leader, Jeff Peterson, who arrived in 2024. He didn't draft LaMelo. He didn't invest in LaMelo. He inherited LaMelo. And for the first time since 2020, Charlotte actually looks like they don't need LaMelo Ball the way they used to. Brandon Miller looks like a future all-star whenever he's on the court. Colin Castleton, yes, a dark horse Rookie of the Year candidate, has been far better than anyone expected. Guys like Ryan Kalkbrenner and Sion James are giving the team size, defense, energy, and stability. The Hornets finally have a structure, and ironically, the structure has made LaMelo look less essential. Let's be honest. The LaMelo Ball era has produced flashy highlights, fun offense, and terrible basketball. The losing record isn't a 2024 problem. It's been the LaMelo era problem. So when this kind of leak hits the public, NBA history tells us something important. The trade eventually happens. Jimmy Butler, James Harden, Damian Lillard, Karl Anthony Towns, every one of them said it wasn't happening until it did. The smoke always becomes fire. A lot of people will say teams won't touch LaMelo because of the money, the injuries, the inconsistency. They're wrong. There are very real reasons why teams will absolutely take the risk, and very real landing spots that make sense. LaMelo Ball's journey in the NBA is one of the strangest arcs we've seen in recent years. He entered the league with a massive spotlight on him, flashy talent, huge expectations, louder critics, and despite all that noise, he proved everyone wrong almost instantly. Remember, he was drafted third behind Anthony Edwards and James Wiseman because scouts questioned his maturity, discipline, and whether his style would translate to winning basketball. But in year one, LaMelo flipped the narrative completely. He didn't just survive, he dominated. He won Rookie of the Year, outshining both players drafted ahead of him. And by age 20, he became an NBA All-Star by joining a list of players so elite that nearly every one of them outside of Zion is a future Hall of Famer. That's the level of raw talent we're dealing with. In that breakout season, LaMelo played 75 games, shot a strong 39% from three, and looked like the franchise-changing cornerstone Charlotte had been waiting for. But everything after that began sliding downhill, and fast. This season, LaMelo is down to a career-low 30% from three, and the durability concerns have gone from a small problem to a defining part of his reputation. He has now missed around 40% of all possible games in his career, right on pace with this current season. To put that into perspective, he has become less reliable than players like Ja Morant, Kawhi Leonard, or even Anthony Davis. That's a huge concern for any front office thinking about building a roster around him. But here's the counter-argument, and it's a strong one. Maybe the problem isn't LaMelo. Maybe the problem is Charlotte. Before their recent overhaul, the Hornets were a model of poor decision-making, bad drafts, inconsistent coaching, no real roster direction, and frequent tanking seasons. In that environment, the team leaned heavily on LaMelo to take wild, off-balance, low-percentage hero shots simply because they didn't have a real offensive structure. When you watch some of those circus attempts, the natural reaction is, what is he doing? But when you look deeper, the truth might be, that's what he had to do. Because when LaMelo is taking good shots, his mechanics are clean, his form is smooth, he has real range, his floater game is elite. Last season, he averaged nearly 4 floaters per game at 48%, trailing only Trae Young in both volume and efficiency. And the passing? At 6'7", with that court vision, he can throw passes other guards simply can't. Skip reads, left-handed lasers, anticipation passes before the defense even reacts. Defensively, yes, he's been bad, but he's also never played for a team with meaningful expectations, structure, or accountability. When your season ends in the lottery every year, it's hard to develop defensive habits. This is the optimistic but realistic side of LaMelo Ball. And it absolutely matters when looking at his trade value across the league. We've seen star movement rumors before, but this year's trade landscape is completely different. It almost feels like the league is overflowing with talented but deeply flawed players who could be available. You've got Zion Williamson, Trae Young, Ja Morant, Anthony Davis, Zach LaVine, DeMar DeRozan. And yet, surprisingly, nobody is lining up to trade for them. A recent report even said that if there were real interest in Trae Young, he would already be on another team by now. That tells you everything about how cautious front offices have become. Teams don't just look at talent anymore. They look at character, durability, contract flexibility, and how someone fits into a long-term plan. So imagine you're a team that needs a young point guard and you have 3 options on the table. Ja Morant, Trae Young, and LaMelo Ball. Ja and Trae are both incredibly gifted, franchise-level offensive engines when they're healthy and locked in. But they're also older, more expensive, and come with baggage. Ja's off-court situation and Trae's defensive limitations are major concerns if you're building a contender. LaMelo, on the other hand, is younger, more scalable, and has at least the potential to become a league-average defender thanks to his size. He's also extremely popular with fans and, by all accounts, genuinely liked within locker rooms. Teammates enjoy playing with him. Coaches talk about his creativity. The problem isn't LaMelo as a person or player. It's the environment he's been stuck in. Given all that, LaMelo might actually be the most realistic trade candidate among all these names as the deadline approaches. Before going into destinations, we need to talk about his contract. LaMelo is under contract for 3 more seasons after this one. It's still a massive number, as all star-level extensions are, but it's not quite in Supermax territory. Because of his injuries, he didn't qualify for the biggest possible deal. So instead of being in that top-tier salary group, he's making something closer to what mid-level stars like Desmond Bane or Franz Wagner are expected to earn. For a team trading for him, that difference matters a lot. So where could he realistically go? Let's stop teasing and get right to the top of the list. Number 1. Dallas Mavericks. The best fit. This is the most intriguing landing spot by far. First, think long-term. Dallas is clearly building its future around Cooper Flagg. Once Flagg matures, he'll naturally grow into the alpha role, which actually helps LaMelo. Ball plays his best basketball when he's a facilitator, not when he's forced into being the first option every night. Kyrie Irving also fits better as a 2-guard. He's at his best next to a true point guard, someone who can run the offense, set the tempo, and let Kyrie focus on scoring. LaMelo fits that mold perfectly. Defensively, the Mavericks' system would help hide LaMelo's weaknesses while amplifying his strengths. And offensively, his creativity paired with a shot-making duo of Kyrie and Cooper Flagg would be elite. Dallas doesn't have a treasure chest of picks. They can offer their 2031 first-rounder, the 2032 pick swap, and potentially more if they move another veteran. It isn't a massive package, but the fit is clean, the timeline works, and the upside is enormous. Number 2. Los Angeles Clippers, the back-home move. Bringing LaMelo back to LA has a certain appeal. In a future where Kawhi Leonard and James Harden's contracts come off the books, the Clippers could retool around LaMelo, Ivica Zubac, and major cap space. That gives them flexibility to lure big names in free agency. Their trade assets? 3 first-round picks, 2030, 2032, and a 2031 swap. It would be selling low for Charlotte, but LA is one of the league's most desperate franchises. Desperation can generate aggressive trade offers. 3. Miami Heat, the culture question. Miami must be mentioned in any star conversation. The real decision they face is this: would the Heat rather build around Tyler Herro or LaMelo Ball? In terms of upside, creativity, and star power, LaMelo might be the better long-term bet, and Miami believes in their ability to restore structure and discipline in talented players. 4. Houston Rockets, the sleeper pick. Houston makes a ton of sense. They desperately need a young point guard. They have one of the best defenses in the league to support LaMelo's weaknesses, and they've got a mountain of assets to offer. The question is whether LaMelo and coach Ime Udoka would actually work together. It would be a wild experiment, but a fascinating one. Even if LaMelo wants to dismiss the trade rumors online, the reality is simple. There is smoke, and it appears to be coming from inside Charlotte's front office. The Hornets look ready to move on, and LaMelo Ball looks like the ultimate change of scenery player who could explode on the right team. Because if Dallas doesn't land him, they might have a much bigger problem on their hands, especially with Kyrie recovering faster than expected.